Assistant Director of Stampede, and most of you guys are familiar with me. Hi. This is the last Harding half of the semester, so that's nice, at least for me. How many of you are here for extra credit? Cool. Hopefully you get something out of it today. You'll at least get a punching balloon and a party popper, and like that's totally what an hour charge. But this is my favorite seminar to lead, and this seminar historically in Harding's Learning Enhancement Workshops that I've been aware of for the last 10 years. This didn't used to exist. However, consistently, since I started doing it a few years ago, it is by far the most heavily attended, and I think it's because y'all are stressed out. And I totally get that. I'm also a licensed therapist, and so this is something on the regular that I deal with and talk about with students and with my employees and my graduate assistants and my colleagues. Actually, last year I had a whole row of faculty sitting at the front because, believe it or not, we're stressed out too. Club week was just over. That's stressful. I'm a club sponsor. It stresses me out, y'all. But it's good. But I hope that a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, it's super skimming the surface. And I don't like that component, but there's only so much I can talk about in an hour. But if there's something you have a question about, or if there's something you want to talk more about, or you want me to elaborate on, then you can just raise your hand and say, hey, Stephanie, talk more about this, and I can do that. If at the end of this, you realize, crap, I have a lot of stress in my life, or a lot of anxiety, please come, either go to the third floor of this building and go to the counseling center, or especially if it's academically related, and school's just weighing you down, which I'm guessing if you're here for extra credit, you kind of might need it, just a little bit, then come talk to us. We have a lot of resources, and I'm going to talk about that too. But you are all college students, so I know by the very nature of your age group and your demographic and the fact that you're in college, you're at least a little stressed out. I'm also a professor. I teach 12 o'clock section in government. And those students had a test yesterday, and I know that can be stressful. It's not fun to be tested over lobbyists and interest groups, but it happens. It's a part of life. I have been out of college, undergrad since 2010, and out of both of my graduate degrees for a few years. And even though I'm not a student, I still get stressed out. Because I am a counselor, I think it's important to be vulnerable. So I'm going to have to lead this seminar from the very beginning, being completely upfront and honest with you all about something. The past 2 weeks, I myself have been more overwhelmed and stressed out than I have been in years. And so it's kind of funny to me that I'm standing up here talking to 150 people about how to manage your stress, because almost every single one of these things in this PowerPoint, I have had to truly just stop and remind myself of. And it sucks to be overwhelmed. And we're not made to be that way. But I want you to know that even the people who have 3 degrees in it, it still happens. And we're going to talk about that. I'm not ashamed to say that because it's real life. And there's like stress, and then there's true crippling anxiety. Some of you may not have ever had crippling anxiety where you just can't breathe, or you're overwhelmed, or you just stop functioning as a human being. But it happens to some of you, and some of you I know all too well know what that feels like. This PowerPoint is not to address the crippling component. That's far more in-depth and for a more clinical setting. But if that is you, I do encourage you to either talk to me or talk to someone else, because that's like a personal version of help. So you don't have to do that. But you're always going to be stressed out a little bit, and that's okay to be stressed out a little bit. It can motivate you a lot to get things done and to be productive. You just have to learn to manage it. Because as long as you can manage it and get it under control and you're at least self-aware, then it's going to be okay. So we're going to talk about that stuff. First of all, though, you have to know, in order to manage it, you have to know what's stressing you out in the first place. So for most of you, school may be a huge stressor. How many of you are freshmen? A good amount of you. So coming to Harding, having to make new friends, learn to adjust to this lifestyle, having to adjust just to college in general, and the rigors of it. I know a lot of you are you guys nurses over here? That's hard. So we have nursing, my sister's a nurse. Yeah, so that's tough, that's stressful. Clinicals, time management, it's the worst. A lot of you are in chemistry, so sorry. And that's hard. And a lot of you are just in regular gen ed classes and you're struggling. College is hard, I get it. But it's not the only thing you're stressed about. You might be stressed about relationships. You might still be overcoming, trying to make up all the time you lost during club week. I am, for real and for true. You might be struggling with stuff back home. You might have like spiritual warfare issues going on. And spiritually you came to Harding and you expected this like camp high feeling and you're not getting it, and that might stress you out. I mean, I could just list all the things that stress us out. Money. Some of you might not have parents paying for your college, and you may have to work to get through this. Some of you don't know what you want to do with your life, but you're here. All these things are hard. Or you might be in a major and you're so deep in that you can't change your mind, and you're like, I've just wasted tens of thousands of dollars in 2 years of my life. That's a hard thing. So you have to identify those things, and you have to be honest with yourself. And that's the hardest part. So sometimes when it comes to identifying what's stressing you out, sometimes you're going to need a little bit of help from those people around you who love you the most and who know you the most, because you might be totally blind to the stuff that's wearing you out. Or you might be in a toxic relationship, and you may not really see it because it's just gotten a little bit more toxic, a little bit more each day, but your friends see it. So you're going to have to be aware. Okay? Some of these things that bring you stress really might not be obvious. There's this thing in my profession we call incongruence, and it's where your thoughts and your feelings and your actions don't all match up. So you may feel something, but you may think something else, or you may do something that doesn't really match how you think and feel, and just innately, when you're not all in accord with yourself, that's going to bring you stress. So if school is really, really important to you, but that isn't congruent with your actions, like you're not giving it due time, or it's not important to you, but it's important to other people, therefore you are trying to do everything you can to be a great student, even though you could really care less, that's going to bring stress and tension into yourself. It's going to cause a lot of stress and tension in relationships. If your heart's telling you one thing and your brain's telling you another, that also sucks. There's just a lot of times when you're not all matched up into this perfect congruent triangle. And that will truly stress you out. Even if you can't feel it at the unconscious level, it's going to make you fatigued and cranky and a little bit tired and just sometimes a little bitter. That happens. Sometimes your own habits or your own attitude even can make you cranky. I laughed out loud when I realized I made the stress management seminar election week as a teacher of American government. I mean, I'm not going to lie, I care a lot about that stuff. And I'm not going to lie, it stresses me out a little bit. But if you are constantly making excuses for things and you don't take self-responsibility, or if your attitude is more than poor, you're going to be stressed out because if you're negative all the time, people don't want to be around you, and that just doesn't help the situation. And sometimes, though, there are things you can't control. And so much of this just identifying what stresses you out is learning to discern things you can control and things you can't control. You're a nursing major. You can control that that's your major, you chose that. But you cannot control what Susan Kale, the dean, who is a wonderful woman, just beat you up, what she requires of you, or all your faculty members, or the rotations that you get. There's only so much you can control, but you can control that you're there. If you are sitting in this room, you controlled that. No one has a gun to your head. Some of you might be in a class where you need the extra credit, so you feel like you need it. But there are things you can't control. There was a death in my family 2 weeks ago, which is one of the reasons I wasn't here for that Harding hack. But can't control that. Does it stress me out? Yeah, absolutely it stresses me out. But I can't be there for my mom. She just lost her husband. That stresses me out. But I can't control it. So I try not to get it to me. You know? You cannot control what your professors do, but you can control yourself. And we're going to talk more about that. There's a prayer that I say truly every day to myself when it comes to control. I could talk for hours on control. I like control. I'm a controller. When it comes, though, to managing, once you've identified your stressors and you're aware, there are 4 A's that we're going to talk about. There's actually 5. These are 4 of the studied clinical 4 A's, and I added my own because I'm Stephanie O'Brien and I do what I want. But avoiding the stressor, Typically, we don't tell people to avoid things. That's sort of a no-no. But sometimes it's really necessary to avoid stuff. I'm also the counselor for the Sexual Assault Surviving Sisters United group at the Rock House on Tuesday night. And there are some things I tell my girls to simply avoid because it triggers a lot of memories and it triggers a lot of stuff. And if that's the case, it's okay to avoid them. You truly in college have got to learn to say no. That two-letter word for most of us was like the first word we learned when we were toddlers. No. It's very easy to say. It's kind of awesome. It's a universal word. No, in any language you're probably going to get it. But as you get older, especially if you're a people pleaser, and especially if you are very talented, and you're a lover of people, and you have a lot of gifts, and you're smart, the difficulty is paramount in saying those two letters. It is hard to say no to people. A professor asks you to do something extra to help them out, and you don't want to say no, but sometimes you just gotta say no. Your friends, the night before a big exam, they say, hey, let's go to Sonic, because like for real, it's Sonic, and you're Harding students. And you know that you shouldn't say yes because you need to study, but you don't want to say no. Or the guy you like or the girl you like asks you to do something and you know that you already have other commitments. And you just can't say no, it stresses you out. It'll cause conflict with your schools, it'll cause conflict with your friend group, it'll cause conflict with your relationships, it causes conflict with your parents. But if you are always a yes person and you say yes to everything, to every opportunity, because you're so fearful of missing out on something, you are going to be stretched so thin that then you're just totally incapable of being a good friend and a good daughter and a good student and a good boyfriend because you've then said yes to everything. And then you're drowning, and then you end up doing nothing because you wanted to do absolutely everything. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about, and you're like, this lady's crazy. That's true too. But some of you do relate very well to the desire to just accomplish it all. I want you to know, as a 28-year-old who's so full of energy and so full of life and really has a lot to give, that burnout is possible. And I'm like there, because I myself really struggle with this. It's hard to say no when you want to please people, but it is something, especially as Christians, you have to learn to do. And a part of learning to say no is prioritizing. We're going to talk about that in a second. You also have to avoid people who stress you out. Like if your professors stress you out, you can't just not go to class. So I'm not saying that. If your advisor stresses you out, or people who you truly have to be around stress you out, sorry, you're going to have to cope with that. But if you have friends who sort of are like leeches, and in freshman year when you come here, it's hard to discern between the really good friends and then like the leeches. And so you just have to, I'm kind of joking about that, but it's also true. So you just have to be careful there. And if people like weigh you down and they take more of you than they pour into you, they don't have to be in your life. Truly, they don't have to be. And it's important to be aware of that. And it's important to just avoid the people who give you anxiety or who wear you out or are toxic to you. And you have to be the one to determine that. But it's okay to do that if people just take your energy. Hey, we got time for that. You also have to take control of your environment. What I am doing the moment I leave here is going home and cleaning my room. Crazy, I know. I don't have a mom saying that I do have a mom. She's not in Arkansas. And she's definitely not saying, Stephanie, you need to go home and clean your room. But I know that my room, the past few weeks, has gotten so out of control, like literally out of control, it's truly not exaggerating, that I just need to clean it to feel better about myself. And if you were to walk into my office right now, which some of you have, it looks like a rainbow threw up, which is kind of fun and kind of crazy. And I just have to take control there. So even if everything else in your life just seems crazy, if you can just take control of your environment, the small section of your dorm, your desk area, your car, your backpack, to where maybe if one part seems like it's put together and it's predictable and it's steady and you know where things are, then maybe that will lead into the other areas of your life. This really helps females. Some guys it really helps you, but but just taking control of the little things you can has a lot of benefits. Also avoid hot button topics. We're not talking about politics in here right now. That's a stressful thing. In my family, talking about God is a stressful thing because the majority of them are not Jesus is the way and the truth and the life people. And so I bring it up only when I feel like it's going to be advantageous to their spiritual growth. Otherwise, it's like, nope. Just avoid things if you know it's touchy. Not always. Sometimes you need to talk about the hard things, especially in relationship with people. But to debate and to fight and to get worked up, simply for the sake of getting worked up. I mean, I was a debater in high school. I love politics, and I love to talk about all the things you're not supposed to talk about. Politics, sex, religion, like, let's hash it out. But not when I'm stressed out, and not when there are other things going on, and not when both people are ready to have a true conversation, not an argument. And then definitely, always, 100% of the time, you have got to narrow down your to-do list. And in college, it's hard because you're being pulled in all these different directions. If you want to go to graduate school, if you want to, you have to take some kind of professional exam or pre-professional exam, deciding what major, different clubs and organizations, social clubs, classes, honor societies, all this stuff, relationships, devos, they take time and they take attention, and those are all good things. But I hope and pray that all of you get so inundated with amazing opportunities in your life that you can say no to the good things. And you can say no to even the great things. And you only make room in your life for the things that are truly exceptional. And sometimes you're going to have to do a few good things and a few great things. But you will get to the point where you have so many opportunities with so many people that you can only do the things that are truly awesome. That's a part of saying no, is saying no to even the good stuff, because you really can't do everything. So you have to prioritize what's important to you. School does not have to be number one. I'm the director of academic resources, and I think I've said that at every Harding Hack that I've led, so 4 of them. School doesn't have to be the number one priority, but if you are paying tens of thousands of dollars to be here, it probably should be up there somewhere. Your relationship with the Lord, your relationship with your family and your friends, these are all amazing things. And then from there you have to sort. But just prioritizing is going to go a long way. Then there's altering the situation. So sometimes you're going to be in situations and things are going to happen that you can't control. So you have to alter it, and you have to deal with it. A huge part of that comes from not just stuffing in all of your emotions and your thoughts and your feelings and letting them bottle up until you just combust. Girls and guys, we're the worst at this. Both. We do that a lot because we feel like we should be okay, or we feel like, well, God will take care of it. Like, yes, but you can't just stuff it all in there. And if you're frustrated with something, or you're overwhelmed, or you're sad, or you feel alone, or you feel taken advantage of, or any of these other things, if you just continue to bottle it up, it's just going to come out of your mouth, and probably on the wrong person. It's going to come out on your best friend, or on your roommate, or it's going to come out on a phone call with your parents, or on your professor. One time, I had a student in my office several years ago who just, all of a sudden, I asked the student a question, and it wasn't like a hard question, but they just went off on me, like slew of hard and inappropriate words. And when I'm uncomfortable, I like laugh out loud. So I laughed out loud. That wasn't the response they wanted, which was fine. I was getting more angry. But after a little bit of digging, the student was just so overwhelmed and angry at his roommates and his suite mates and angry at his girlfriend, and he just took it out all on me. It's a good thing I'm super chill because I didn't care. But he could have gotten a lot in trouble with that. In fact, the wrong person, he could have gotten kicked out of school for that. But he just took it out on me. And that's okay to an extent, because I was a safe person to do that to. But if you bottle things up, it's going to poison you, and it's going to poison your relationships, and then you get more stressed out. So we're not going to knock that out. You also have to be willing to compromise. As stubborn as the Missouri Mule, and they're not wrong. I am so stubborn. Like Stephanie Suzanne is stubborn, like 3 S's in my name. And compromise, I'm still on the struggle bus with compromise because I always think that I'm right. And that sucks. Like, I'm just going to be honest that it's hard for me to admit that to a room of college students. We're very impressionable. But I am stubborn, and that stresses me out so much. And so, in the past several years especially, this is something that I actually pray about every day. Like, Lord, just please make me more like a willow and less like an oak, where I can just bend in the breeze and not just break and not just stand so strong. There are some things, because I'm a passionate person, and many of you are passionate people, especially if you are in a people profession, you want to help people. But if you're always stubborn, you always have to be right, it's just chains around you. And it separates you from relationship with others. And it separates you from making progress. And sometimes it's good to have values, and it's good to just put a stick down and say, I'm not wavering from this. But that's not all the time. And if you think that it is, you'll end up very lonely. And that's stressful. So you have to learn to compromise. On the flip side, you also have to learn to be more assertive. It slays me in the worst possible way. When people come to my office and they don't have any confidence, and they just let people walk all over them, and they will not advocate for themselves, and they will not at all acknowledge their gifts or their intelligence or their beauty. If you were sitting in this room already, you are so much more blessed than the far majority of the world, because you're in a safe place, fully clothed, hopefully fed, even if it's not with the best food, sorry, Kat, and you are getting an awesome education. That's awesome. And you're here at Harding because we accepted you, because we think you have potential, and we think that you are going to be a phenomenal person in the world once you leave here. And you have to learn to make decisions in your life. Some of you, I know, still are controlled by your parents. You're 18, most of you, not more older. Very few of you, I think, would be younger than 18. But it's okay to make your own decisions. And I want you to know that it's about time for you to start empowering yourself and know that you're smart enough and you are capable enough to make decisions in your life. Your friends don't have to make them for you. Your boyfriend or girlfriend, your parents, your church. If you just continue to live, you're one of those people that just doesn't stand up for themselves. One day you're just going to be so tired of being a doormat, but it's your identity, and then you feel too guilty to change that, because your identity has just become a people pleaser. And that's truly no way to live. And so if that's something that you struggle with, and if that hits a chord with you, I want you to do things that are more empowering to you, or definitely talk to me about it. Empowering people is one of my favorite things. And then, of course, time management. You will always have a lot to do if you're using the gifts God gave you. Because to whom much is expected, or to whom much is given, much is expected. And I believe you are all given a lot. Do you all have the same gifts? Nope. Some of you are innately a whole lot smarter than others. It is what it is. And some of you are a whole lot more athletic. Some of you are a whole lot more just wise. And some of you are innately better at managing time. But it's okay to have different gifts. You just have to learn what your weaknesses are and improve them. And for a whole lot of you, managing your time is one of the biggest stressors for you, because you just don't know what to do. And if time management is the thorn in your side, I rejoice for you, because that's one that we can fix. And so if you know that time management, even heading into Dead Week, because we're going to come back from Thanksgiving and it's like boom into the semester. I'm not sure if you realize this, but it happens. You get slapped in the face and you don't realize it because you're looking at the Harding twinkle lights, and then it's like, you're kind of screwed. But if managing time is your struggle bus, please come talk to us in the center. We can plan out every hour of every day after Thanksgiving. And you would be shocked at how often we do this. Every semester, at the end of every semester, because it's important. And if you just tell your time where it's going to go, it'll be a lot better. There's a whole Harding hack on that one. Sorry if you missed it. It was recorded. Another one, adapting the stressor. This is one of my favorites because of the counselor in me, and because I was raised by two therapists. My mom and my stepdad were both therapists. reframing your problems, like change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. I like wanted to shake my mom sometimes when she would say that to me when I was a teenager, but it's also true. It is true. Sometimes when my boyfriend and I are driving, we play this game for a whole thrill. We, like any kind of ridiculously negative scenario, we're like true nerds, it's awesome. He'll throw me any ridiculous scenario and then I'll reframe it and make it positive, and he like tries to get me. And he'll stump me sometimes. It gets kind of hard when you're talking about some things. They're really hard, but they're also not realistic. But if you change the way you look at most things a little bit, and if you really do find the silver lining, it can be better. For instance, the other night, Tuesday night / Wednesday morning, 1:30 in the morning, 1:45 actually, I was laying in bed, and I decided, well, silver lining. Okay, I'm going to bring politics into this. Just can't not do it. So sorry. Okay, I didn't want Trump or Hillary. I'm just going to say it. Makes me feel better now. You'll probably read about that in the Bible because they all heard me do that. It's fine. So I didn't want either one of them to win. I wanted Jesus to come back. Something fierce. And so that didn't happen. At least I hope not, because I missed it. And that would suck. So let's be real, it's fine. This is being recorded, I'm being vulnerable. And transparent, because that's what happens when I'm stressed out. I lose my filter. So see, manage your stress, or else you tell 100 people about it. But I was laying there, and my silver lining to the fact that Jesus didn't come back was the fact that in 2024, when I'm 36, now I can fulfill my 12-year-old dream from when I was 12 years old. I haven't had this dream for 12 years. Of being the first female president. And now I'm all convinced you will vote for me. Not. This will be like a clip that they show on the news of she's been crazy forever. But that was my silver lining, was that when I was like a little kid, I so badly wanted to be the president of the United States. And not just the president, but the first female president. And Hillary came along, and that was a dream crusher. And so my silver lining is that it's still possible. That's a good thing for me. I'm holding on to it. I've got that going for me this week. And then in more life, day-to-day issues, reframing for me. Being really overwhelmed at work because I have so many different things under my job description. All of SI, all of tutoring, all of party cats, all of academic counseling, all of supervision of counseling interns, blah, blah, blah. Like, that can be overwhelming, truly. And it's gotten me recently. But for me to reframe that and say, you know what, Stephanie? The only reason you have all of that stuff under your plate is because the deans and the provost and the president of the university trust you with it. And because you actually typically do a good job with it. So I have to remember that silver lining, that the only reason I'm overwhelmed at work is because usually I'm good at my job. So that's nice, and I have to remember that. And sometimes in grief, the only reason that I'm like super heartbroken the last 2 weeks that I cannot be there with my mom because she just lost her husband in 20 years is because I love my mom so much. And if you grieve something, that means that you love something. And that's such a beautiful gift and one that a lot of people don't have. A lot of people don't have the relationship with their mom like I do with mine, and that's a blessing. So when you get stressed out, sometimes you just have to stop, whether you're overwhelmed or you're truly grieving, and you just have to say, there's a good thing to this. It is really good that you're super stressed out in the nursing program, because by the time you are done and you're actually doing it, you're going to be like, wow, I got this under control because I was so well trained. And that's an awesome thing. Any situation, you can reframe it. You can also always look at the big picture. There are things on the day-to-day that stress me out. Monday night of Club Week, if you walked out of All Club, walked out of the roads, and you heard this like hellacious screeching sound from a vehicle, and it made you jump and squeal like I feel like it did half the girls, that was my car. And that stressed me out, because like car issues and me, I don't speak car. Do I look like I speak car? The answer is no. I don't know what's happening. And so I'm like helpless, 100% helpless. And then I went a week and a half without my car. My car, Daisy. I love Daisy. She has a name. And so it was just difficult. And then I had to pay so much money. And that stuff stresses me out. But a year from now, am I going to care that I was without my car for a week? Nope, because Lord willing, I'll have a car in a year, and it will still be Daisy because I love her. And in 5 years, it definitely won't matter that I went a week without a car because I have a boyfriend who loaned me his and it's fine. And hundreds of dollars is gone, but like, hey, I have a job, so that's nice. And hopefully I'll still have one after this summer. And it's okay. It's all fine. We got it under control. But in the long run, it's not going to matter. So in the short run, I don't really need to stress about it. Some of these tests you're taking, it may make the difference between an A or a B. And if you're like going to med school, your GPA is important. But in the long run, one test is not going to define your life. Truthfully, sincerely, without wax. Adjusting your standards. This is hard. So, a lot of you have standards. Standards are kind of a polarizing thing. Expectations, they're typically either super low, so you expect nothing of yourself, and you're like, the C's get degrees kind of people, which is like technically true, but you can do better than that. And then there's the, if I'm not on the dean's list every single semester at Harding, I'm a true failure at life people. And I want you to be somewhere in the middle, where you know that you're capable of just doing mediocre, because you are, quite truthfully. And I want you to know that it's okay if your grades aren't perfect, because in the long run, a 4.0 in undergrad isn't going to change your life. And if anything, it's just going to add a little notch of pride to your belt. And pride, I'm not sure if you know this, isn't one of the fruits of the Spirit. It's actually the opposite. So be mindful of that. And if it stresses you out, always attaining perfection, you should probably change that. It's okay to strive to be great and to do your best. But if your best is a B, or if your best is just, I don't know, running a 10-minute mile instead of a 7-minute mile, then that's your best. It's fine. It's really okay. Bless you. But you're not going to be perfect in everything. And that's a really good, humbling thing. The only person who has ever been perfect ended up on a cross for us. And you're never going to attain that. That's okay. You also do have to focus on the positive. If you are a negative Nancy, that does not make people want to be around you. And it may make you feel better to complain all the time, but that's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And I'm not sure if you've ever been shot, but that's not how I want to heal it. So don't do that. And we're not called to be negative about everything, because it stresses you out to just complain and to find excuses all the time. It does truly not a single good thing for you. Is it good to vent the process? Yes, but at the end of that venting, you need to do some reframing. But if you're just constantly for me mentality, or if you feel like there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, so you just give up, or everyone else is always wrong, or you just don't have enough time, or you just don't blah, 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 fill in the blank. You're not helping yourself out. And again, there are some things that you can't control that really just stink, and they aren't fair. But to just sit and dwell in it, that's not the mess you want to sit in. And so if you have stinking thinking going on all the time, you need to ask some people in your life to very lovingly tell you when you're being negative, so you can at least be aware of how often it's happening. And every day try to focus on finding 10 really awesome things about either your life or yourself or the people that you're actually struggling with. It's really helpful. But that is something you have to put truly a very conscious effort toward remedying, or else it just becomes your default setting. And if your default setting is to be bad, then that stinks. Because people won't want to be around you, people won't want to hire you, and it really hurts your life spiritually, which is truly the most important thing. The next A is accepting the things you cannot change. My life has not been easy. I think that's why I speak so candidly at a very conservative Christian school, because I did not have a white picket fence life. and that's okay. Couldn't control most of it. But I'm thankful for it because it's made me different, and I actually like that, and I enjoy that, and I enjoy being passionate and sassy and feisty and opinionated. It's good, but it's taken 28 years of learning what I cannot control. And so much of what I cannot control, and absolutely what you cannot control, is other people. And that typically is the first thing we try to control. Whether it be your roommates or your friends or your boyfriends or all these people we've already been listing, if you let other people control your emotions, if you're only okay if your boyfriend is okay or vice versa, or you're only okay if your best friend is okay or vice versa, that's an awful feeling because you have no control over it. If I determined how my life was based on how the people in my life were doing, man, that would be so hard all the time. And it's okay to be sympathetic and empathetic. It's okay to be present with the people in your life who are hurting. But if their happiness determines your happiness, that's a really bad thing. Or if you have friends and they just don't pour into you the way you need, or you're in a relationship and they just don't give you what you need all the time, and you try to control them, people don't like being controlled at all. 0%. And it starts to feel like chains, and then you're trying to control them because you want them closer to you. And what you're actually doing is creating chains that they're just going to break off and they're going to go away. And it's counterproductive. And people do it all the time. Guys and girls do it. You have to learn that you can't control people. And you also have to learn that other people can't control you. It goes both ways. You also need to look for the upside. This is, again, is like reframing. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's huge. And as Christians especially, you identify yourself with the cross and with the grace given through Christ. You have got to always remember this one, to look for the upside. Because people are looking at you. At Harding, this place is so lit with Christians that we sort of forget. But if you go into a place where Christianity is rare, if you were to go in my house, if you are negative about everything and you're just not shining a light and not feeling like you know what it's going to be okay because at the end of the day the Lord is sovereign, then you're not doing very well living out the gospel. And that's hard. So you have to look for the upside. And you also have to share your feelings. Some of you don't share your feelings. And to ask you to do such a thing is preposterous. And some of you just won't share your feelings with the people in your life because you're too scared. You're afraid if they knew the real you, they'd leave. That's hard. I've been there. I've felt that way. But you can at least start sharing your feelings with someone more objective, like a counselor, or someone who isn't like in the situation. So you need to share your feelings, even if you can't, especially if you can't alter the situation. But to just talk to someone about it, that's important. This last one's hitting home to me, to be quite honest. Learning to forgive, giving grace to people even when they don't deserve it. Here's the thing about deserving that stuff. Not a single person in this room deserves anything. In reality, the big stuff. We don't deserve the grace we got. We just get it. And so a lot of people don't deserve forgiveness. A heck of a lot of people don't deserve forgiveness. But it is far more poisonous to the person withholding it than it is to the person not giving it. And so if in relationships with people, you are so bitter and you're just holding on to stuff and you can't let it go, that's going to weigh down on you. My stepdad is the one who died 2 weeks ago, and I haven't put those pieces together. He's my stepdad for 20 years, since I was 8 years old. And I'm processing this, y'all, because there are some things I haven't really forgiven him for, to be quite honest. You don't want to get to a place where it's just too late. You really don't. That's hard. It's a hard place. And you don't want to be bitter or resentful ever. So learning to forgive people and to just let go of the stuff will go a long way into freeing you so you can truly soar on wings like eagles. My 5th A is adopting a healthy lifestyle. I, on most mornings, will get up at 5:15, and my boyfriend and I do like a couch to 5K thing. So like run, walk, 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 walk. It's the worst. And when I say it's the worst, I mean it's the best. because it gets some of that stress out of me. Because when you're stressed and you're overwhelmed, it's like a tangible thing. And that's when we're starting to flirt with anxiety, when you just can't breathe, or you hear sounds and they like bother you, or people just get on your nerves and your fuse is this long. You just get sick and you don't want to eat anything, or you want to eat everything. And it's just bad. But you have to sleep and you have to exercise. And I know that while I was gone, they did the whole wellness honey hack. But all those things are true because it's how you're created. And physically, just taking care of your well-being goes such a long way. For real and for true, you have to do it. Adopting a healthy lifestyle is actually the number one thing. You do have an advantage simply by being here. If you're a Harding student, you are in a safe place, in a place that loves the Lord. And there are countless mentors, whether they be your professors, your club sponsors, your RLCs, anyone. You have awesome mentors. My colleagues on this campus are so amazing. Take advantage of them. Take advantage of us. You have friends. You also have the counseling center. You have free counseling. Typically to get counseling, private practice, it's like an average of $100 an hour, and you guys can get it for free. That's cool. And the Center for Student Success, people who really want to help you, they're all counselors up there as well, or counseling interns at least, and they're awesome. Take advantage of that. You may be a hot mess, I get it, but you are a blessed mess simply by being here. And then, of course, prayer. A lot of people don't do that. And a lot of the times, personally, I'm towing the line here, but I'm known for that, I guess. Bless you. But a lot of the stress, to me, in my very humble opinion, comes from just spiritual warfare. Satan attacks those worthy of attack. So if you're stressed out, to me that's a compliment, because it means that you're worthy of it. Yes, but to me it's also a capital T truth. And so how do you fight spiritual warfare? You fight with spiritual weapons. And the best one that we have been equipped with is prayer. Other coping strategies. Keeping a journal. I have a really cool tinfoil calendar. It's quite lovely, to be quite honest. And I keep it by my bed. And at the end of every single day, because I don't have time to journal like I used to. Let's be real. Brevity is not my strength, so I write like 20 pages. And I just don't have time for that. So I write my high and my low every day before I go to bed. And that's my new form of journaling. I've done it this year. And I can go back and see the patterns, the things that are consistently highs and the things that are consistently lows. And it helps heighten my awareness so that I can do something about it. But just processing. If you are too timid and too scared to share your thoughts and your feelings with other people, just getting it out of your system, whether it be in keeping a voice memo and talking to yourself for 5 minutes because you don't want to have to write it, or just taking 5 minutes to jot some things down and getting it out of your system truly does go a long way. Talking to God, taking advantage of resources to talk to other people who aren't necessarily in your life on the permanent way, in the permanent way, so a counselor or someone in the center, do that. That's what we're here for. That's why I have my degrees. Also, enjoy nature. It's fall, the best season of all. And Arkansas is a natural state. Go on a hike. Go walk around this beautiful campus. Just stop literally to smell the roses. I guess there aren't roses right now. Stop and smell whatever fall flowers out there. And it's good to do that, to just stand in awe and just stop and to be still and to look around you and just love it. Go to Pettigene State Park. That waterfall's beautiful. Go hike Sugarloaf. If you're scared of heights, that'll stress you out, so please don't. Or just do whatever you got to do. But enjoy nature, because for me, I think that's God's natural remedy to stress. Make time for fun things. Always make time for fun things. Not so much time that that's all you do, and then I get emails about you because you're not going to class. And then you have to come talk to me, and that's stressful because I'm mean and intimidating. But that was a joke. You should have laughed at that. But you have to do fun things. So if you are just being a student, and you are just doing all these monotonous things you don't really find joy in, you're going to burn out. So make sure you make time for friends. Make sure you make time for a little bit of Netflix, Gilmore Girls coming soon, or just whatever. You have to make time for that stuff. It's important. Breathing exercises. A few weeks ago, how many of you have a class or have had a class with SI in it? SI leaders. Okay. I'm so sorry that not many of you are that blessed. But they're awesome. And I love them, and I'm their boss. And those SI leaders, they're students. They're like the cream of the crop students, but they're all stressed out. So I made them all during a staff meeting lay on the floor, and I turned out the lights, and I hypnotized them with breathing exercises. I should have recorded it. I would be so YouTube famous right now. But it was just so good because all these students who are so go-getters, just by doing 20 minutes of deep breathing exercises, half of them like legit fell asleep. Like they were snoring going on. And then the other half were just so calm, cool, and collected that when I was like, hey, the meeting's over, they all just continued to lay there, with the exception of one. And then I left. I left the office before they did because they just lay there. And it was simply because we breathed. I'm not sure if you realize this, but you've all been breathing the whole time you're here, and if not, we have a problem. But the way you breathe, breathing in through your nose for 7 seconds, and out through your mouth, and like holding it for a few seconds, and then out through your mouth, and just repeating that. A week and a half ago, I hyperventilated for the second time in my whole life. I felt like my lungs collapsed. We had to pull over the car because I was choking. True life, real story. Quite vulnerable. It sucked. But then I had to regroup myself. And I sat there in the car and just breathed in through my nose, held it, and out through my mouth, probably 2 minutes, until I was fine. And then I was fine. And I think that's really cool, that of all the tons and billion-dollar industries that we have in the world to help people in medicine, God gave you one of the most awesome, quick gifts in your body to just help de-escalate your situation, including your physiological responses to stuff. So even if you just go to YouTube and type in like breathing techniques and relaxation, there are a ton of videos. Half of them have this guy, and he has a really creepy voice, so sorry about that, but they're really effective, and they're good. So if you're stressed out and you're feeling overwhelmed, do that. I also am a true, firm believer in punching balloons and party poppers. When I take big tests in undergrad, when I took big tests, especially finals, whenever I come back to the dorm, I would do one of these. It's like a personal party of one, and it just made me feel so good. Unless we really do it for the smoky smell, because that's like the most best feeling in the whole world. Okay, and then punching balloons, because sometimes you just want to beat the crap out of something, but you can't, because you'll get kicked out. So you just take a punching balloon, and this will stress out your roommate, and then you can tell them to do everything you just learned, because they can't control you doing that. And they're helpful and fun. And then the Serenity Prayer. I have this over my bed, and it's something that has been in my house ever since I was a baby. It's something I truly say every day. So our last thing, when we leave, there are certificates for you to get. I'm actually going to have, this is going to be kind of a hot mess, but if you could like funnel to come down over here and then leave out this door, so you guys like walk through over here and come down here and pick up the certificates and a party popper and a punching balloon. There may not be enough for everyone, so sorry about that. I'll send you on campus mail if you want me to, if you're one of the last. But we're going to say this prayer real quick. So everybody all at once. God, grant me serenity